Right. Pardon me, Fambulem, a little bit hoarse. As usual, I've been having a long time conversation and all the time in the interest of Mama Salone. But on today, the 17th of May 2022, I want to bring warm greetings to Fambulem from the TNN Media Empire. And me, when they talk to una this evening, me na Prince Emil Kroma. This program is going to be a very short program, but before I go into the program itself, I want to say one or two few things. Obviously, first of all, I just cut my hair on my own, which is quite interesting. I'm not able to offend me baba. I get a specific baba, and he's not around. He's not been around for a week, and I really needed a haircut, and I can't continue for grow the hair because I don't feel comfortable. So I get for let go. That's not really important, but you just want to fumble and no say I've just really done my hair. So if now you now one of them people that they scrutinize the tape where they watch like for look maybe lily patch of hair there, patch of hair there, you are big. Please forgive me. This is the situation. Um, on many other things, I want to fumble and know say on tomorrow we gonna have a program on this very platform. So don't touch that dial on whether President Julius Maada Bio, is running a kleptocracy. What is a kleptocracy? It's a kind of system in which people or people in authority they use them, paddy them for run a government or reward them for run a government. In other words, it's criminal and it's uncalled for and it's corrupt. It's a corrupt practice. So we go look into that tomorrow. On the following week, we get Mr. Abdul Fatoma, and we want to look into the role of NGOs. And I think say we program is titled whether NGOs them have been compromised, the role of NGOs in civil society, and we go look as to whether they have been compromised. So there's a host of programs and they come on. Again, we have not been regular as we will love to be because of few other reasons, and we need to make that known to the Sierra Leonean people because the people who they make them broadcast there too is the Sierra Leonean people. And if things not go right, it's obvious that we need to take responsibility and pass that on to them so that they can understand. So we deputy host Mr. Mohamed Kamara he's been on holidays and still on holidays for a month. We're not able to get him until most likely the end of the month. So it's been a one-man program, yeah, all along. And all the other people that we can assist with in terms of the background, the control room, none of them are available at this time. So if I go do me normal work, because I do a normal work, away from this, something where I do enjoy, then it's difficult for let we do the news and bring news to Salon people. But notwithstanding, now I make with a catch up. There are heavy programs coming on. We might most likely be having Lawyer Magai. Lawyer Magai might most likely be on the program. Honorable Abdul Kabo should be on the program. Would they try to get the deputy leader of the APC, Minkailo Mansare, on the program because we need a lot of clarifications. So most likely these people will be on the program. And one thing I can assure Fambule of is the leader of COP, Femi Claudius Cole, will be on the program at some point because there's so many stories going around about COP, their relationship with the APC, and the general political situation of the country. Who is better to come and talk about that than the leader of COP? Anyway, Fambulem, for go straight into the issue like I promised, this is going to be short. I hope for do this within 30 minutes and an hour. Okay? And as soon as I see is the standard of living of Sierra Leoneans is plummeting. In other words, it's dipping, it's becoming unbearable for Sierra Leoneans then. And this is very, very true. And this is true for across the world. But we know say with political leadership then they try to use this occasion for make them for appear as if 2 years or 3 years of failure for get a grasp of the economy, tailor fiscal discipline for we people them, cut down the inflation number, okay, to probably single digit, whether they promise we say than they do, but up till now that has not been done. And this has caused the skyrocketing of prices, goods and services to a point where we people them can simply not afford. But like I say, it's largely a global crisis now. But before being a global crisis, what kind of crisis was it? Now the question now which is to be asked, because we don't want to let people use the opportunity for say, now when Russia invade Ukraine, that's when it actually turned out to be a problem, an economic crisis in we country and most other countries. We know that's the case now, but prior to now, we were still having economic difficulties. And what you know want for letting it tell we people them, now for let we people them believe say not today the problem start. Having said this, Fambulem, still need for carry on. Salon people cannot afford a proper meal, a decent meal. This may not be new, but the intention of governments of all shades and colors now have to meet the basic requirement of its people. How its people can basically afford them basic amenity they are. Like for eat, whether if not to 3 times, but whether you eat one full square meal for a day, full square meal for a day. This is not the case. I can always talk saying at this platform, sometimes where I can get a show related to which I they talk to, that back in the 1980s, because now so it looked like it's not as bad and worse as it was in the 1980s, because in the 1980s, I was, yeah, in me early years, in my formative years, early me formative years, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I see me family, me mama struggle. I see how the state move from where you gonna cut in shop. Okay. I grow up in a few places. One of the places the one I mentioned today now, Black Hole Road. So I grow up now 160 Black Hole Road. For those of who now wake come up Black Hole Road, Mami Hunter in shop, Boston Community Center, but Mami Hunter in shop, and then Hook Street, when a longer street we run from down Saola till go up almost to Crisiad. Okay, that's where we grew up, and then basic places the way you get the way people and go remember now places like Mile and Field. Anyway, that's not important for the subject today. What thing happened is during that period, which was in the 1980s, I see we cannot afford. Me mama can't afford for put per mine pan the soup, so it turned to wheat soup. So we would eat fish and with soup and good plasas, cream, potato leaf. That thing they begin for change gradually. It turned to wheat soup. But the analogy what they try for gear is like we are almost living in that same time as today. Today, as I speak, it based largely on statistics because I'm no longer there in that situation, but I do have family people in cousins, brothers, sisters, uncle, nephews, nieces, aunts, you name it. A slew of relatives are all there. And we know they talk regularly, but I do talk to every one of them at some given point, whether not the uncle, whether not the auntie, whether the nephew or niece. But one thing we common as to the conversation we can have is all of them are in need of help. And you do understand because the country they go through this difficult standard of living in which people cannot afford them basic things they are, we will talk about. And this is very true. And then I draw this analogy between the now and in the 1980s when I was there as a boy and saw it myself. So a country where you go to the fuller shop, the shelves are full. Long before they come Europe and the Americas, the shelves are full. We didn't know or understood the stacking up of shelves or which shelf they're empty, waiting on them in. But we did see them, like I see them before at the left. So back in the 1980s, the late 70s, early 80s, the Fullerman shop is full up. Sardine, baked beans, egg, and all the tin foods were there. Then we get one part right now, the junction between Hook Street and Black Hall Road. There was a Fuller shop there. Just adjacent to the Fuller, not adjacent, opposite to the Fuller shop, there was the public pump where always they run with water. Water what they struggle for, so always they run with water. By the fence of that pump live the government diamond evaluator, who I believe saying Mr. During, believe that compound day. Then if you go further down, of course, you get Boston Community Center, and you been get what they call the field. I don't forget the name of the field. Also, be they go play ball. So schoolyard. I think a schoolyard they call them. Yeah, with brown dirty, dust dirty. That's where we used to go and play football. Of course, I just leave just maybe yards away, 160. Okay, they will play street football as well. By then, then have been Wembley and Tushilin. Then later on, then build the big Tushilin ball, but not be the smaller one. So anybody, then Junior Tumbu, then we die. So may God rest his soul in peace. And many of them, we other stars them, then play them kind ball and then play Wembley. If you can control Wembley, which means that you can really play football. If you can control Tushilin, and then street them, then street by game, and then gutter them, the side of the gutter them. That means you were an exceptional player. These were the times that we played. Okay. But coming back to the issue of the country they suffer as at this point, in which the standard of living of Sierra Leoneans is plummeting, this is not arguable. This is not just fact. And at the begin for see Oyeri, because again, like I say, I'm not physically there, but at the begin for feel waiting people and they say that waiting me encounter in the 1980s. After you don't eat fine food, full up with fish, plazas, beef, and what have you. And then we begin to see the difficult times in which you cannot afford all of that. It became luxury. Now that kind of complaining now we hear from with people as at this time. As at this time. So we fast forward them to now, which happened for be the government of President Julius Maada Bio. You see, Fambulem, some people can take this really seriously and they should, I will advise. But on the basis of when you mention the current president, who is actually responsible for the state of affairs where we country they go through, some people can take them personal and want to paint you in a color other than which you don't belong or we're not actually necessary. But what you try to establish, first of all, that there are hard times in the country. Even though some people in denial, there are hard times in the country with people and they go through really difficult times in which they can't afford, and it's just getting worse and worse. Waiting government they try for do in this instance now for making for appear like say, well, now the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, where Russia call special operations, now the cause for the situation where we find ourselves today. And this is what we no one for agree with. We do agree that this is a contributing factor, but this is not the total cause for waiting to happen. So President Maada Bio and the people that way they make the argument for the other, they either fail for acknowledge the reality, just like a postam, where you go see now because Russia invade Ukraine. But before Russia they invade Ukraine on February 24, we have been having economic problems in which we people were going through real difficulties. But we they fail for accept that on the basis of partisanship, which truly is uncalled for. Because if we were to look for solutions, then solutions in we go therefore look for them together. But unfortunately, the president and his team seem to be, in fact, let me pull the president. The president is indeed living in a bubble of his own, but it's based on people we know exactly what the issue is because then they advise the presidency. Please, fumble and don't get me wrong. The presidency is an important institution that pays attention to very, very important things. Then waiting unacceptable and dishonest in this particular conversation is the battery of advisors on whom the president believe, where they can tell them things, because the president don't know what happened at Black Hole Road. The president don't know what happened at Ashobi Corner. The president don't know what happened at Kintom. The president don't know what happened at Kuntolo. The president don't know any of these other than what he's been fed by a battery of advisors. So even when the president speaks, it's based on the advice of these advisors. So my finger pointing goes to the advisors today and not to the president. The president and his team, we can want accused, say that they leave this bubble. But like I say, I want to pull the president commode and point fingers directly at the people them we suppose or are his advisors. Remember, another thing we will go hold President BO for, and this is not the thing, and fumble, and this is important. The president come online and tell we say, I have fulfilled my manifesto promises. I repeat, I have fulfilled my manifesto promises. And this, what they do now, na bunya. That na a kind of jargon within we parlance, we local parlance. Bunya mean extra. Or of course, I'm not teaching anybody about that. I just do me conversation for connect with me people. But of course, Bonya means extra. So the president say I don't do or fulfill my manifesto obligations, and always I they do so now. Now Bonya now they offer the people. So you see, Usa we can come and turn around and blame President Bio. Because even if not the advice or then the advice him, as at this time, if I don't try for get in touch with his people, how he connect to in people them, how the Sierra Leonean people, the local people them are connected to the president. That's cause of concern. Not only the president based on these lies within the president, this burden build up in which the president now lives, only for like and go visit the people in A, most likely begin for Buam or begin for ask question, or there's a disconnect. And the president see all of that, and then when he come back now in State House, he not decide for understand why waiting happened the way he go out for go speak to him people them. He had such a reaction. That is not right at all. But now Intel we say he don't fulfill a manifesto promises. Family, we no need for behave or give the belief or the feeling as if hard time doesn't exist. Hard time for the best part of Sierra Leoneans them. When I say the best part, I mean the numbers in terms of Sierra Leoneans them does exist. So the larger part of Sierra Leoneans them, I don't want to put a percentage on them because I might just end up being wrong, but I just know a significant part of the Sierra Leonean population are suffering. With people and they suffer, real suffer. Pardon me. Every day when they talk to people them, and when they hear the reaction from with people them, the family when I hear me I say with people them, you know here I say SLPP, PAOPA, NGC, APC, NURP, and you name it, ADP. No, I didn't say any of that. I say we people. So I they talk about a broad mass of we people, 7.5 million, in which probably you can remove 100,000, or let we say 500,000, 500,000. But 7 million people are in the better part, they suffer from real hardship. Okay? And now on that basis, they say the president, now on that basis, then the president come and tell the general population, say, he don't fulfill a manifesto promises. How true? How true? And how we see him? We're not going to dwell on that. We will continue for talk, which we will talk about. For pretend like say none of these exist is unacceptable to the people of Salon. That hard time no exist. Famulem, make us say, other than what we know, Bakuti don't look Orwellian our nation. Orwellian means upside down. Remember George Orwell? Now the Orwellian thing come out. When you say this, not when you mean the opposite. So poverty is wealth, go mean wealth is poverty. Peace is war, go mean war is peace. I mean, just upside down. And this not the kind of situation where we did actually experience na freedom. Family, why would you go into this? Let me just say a few things on some of the reasons why we are getting this completely wrong. In as much as we want to attribute this for say now the presidency in action them where it take and because of the Ukraine-Russia war, now irresponsible. I want for impress on una that no, this is not the case. And when I say this is not the case, I'm not to make they make this up. Prior to now, what been only happen in the country was economic difficulty, serious economic difficulties. I mean only happen in the country for a significant period of time. So the president take over a before the advent of coronavirus. But even as the president take over, there were economic difficulties, serious economic difficulties. But we all be hopeful, say, this is not something which can be fixed or will be fixed. Few months down the line, never fixed. So the advent of COVID-19 come. And whilst this been destructive, we embrace them. The powers that be, na Salone, na Freetown, they embrace them because this was supposed to be, if you don't ever play Monopoly, a getaway card, a getaway, because you kind of locked up in a kind of prison and you get a rescue. This ain't happen. So COVID-19 can provide a rescue. And for a period of time, the government then survived under this rescue package under COVID-19, in which funds from the World Health Organization, WHO or WHO, was being provided because it was an pandemic, global. So every one of us was affected, big nations and small nations. So there was a little bit of a flow of cash. So we'll be able to sustain ourselves. Thank God for that. Thank God to them when they will provide. But when that pandemic they done, actions necessary in an economic sphere or terms were not put into place for figure out, say, once we come out of this, how do we go forward being independent economically? How do we? Such was not really put into place. So it seems like the leadership been a kind of play with the lives of we, the Sierra Leonean people. It might not be intentional, fumbling, because I can clearly say I have no evidence for corroborate waiting at the say so in terms of the authorities in Freetown being actually or they actually take active steps for deprive the people of Sierra Leone from basic amenities, or at least for lift them up from this poverty line where they fend themselves. So that would have been nothing intentional. But here is the thing, okay? They try for tell we, and they talk about the authorities, then they try for tell we that waiting we know or the truth that the economy they inherit a bad one. I mean, when you play something over and over, you lose the essence. So we were told that the economy inherited was in a bad state. It wasn't new. And I just want for let Fambul recollect or jog the memory quickly. So while this not correct, because when the ex-brigadier took over, he say he inherited a near to collapse economy, which means the economy was not collapsed. At least there was some function of it. And there were derivatives, money being come XYZ and still they come inside. And now based on money, then when they come inside, now the President Bio begin for get informative stage of going forward and meeting the manifesto promises and other obligations them as head of state. For example, for the first 3 years, there was clarity as he promised, a new direction as he promised. Everything that was being done and said within a 3-4 months period was being justified, recorded, and put out there for people like us for Siam. For example, if the president the travel goes on site, then go make am clear say, hey, President Bio they go with a 20-man delegation. Now so place. This go where they go so now for go sign bilateral agreement with the government of so. On the president in delegation are the ministers of this and that. People them way get something for do with the trip because the president need people as such, especially when they go on them kind trip then they we now then they go help them for go sign, waiting it they go sign. Although largely then people there go don't precede them long before on many occasions they not go doing the supposed for doing it. And when the president they come, now for can put pen and paper. But no, this turns out not for be the case. That 3-4 years on, even though President Bio been tell we would have been in delegation, so we able for appropriate per diem to the people where they travel. 4 months on, 5 months on, all of that was swept under the bed. So we asked the question, why then? And for those of us who think that we just want to be critical for nothing, why then did the president not make them clear? Say accountability and transparency, there are no compromises about them two elements there, transparency and accountability. If you are found wanting, you will be dealt with. But instead, now the president can they before all of this, and remember, say something fundamentally changed. First 3-4 months of President Bio in government, everything appeared to be transparent, and people became hopeful, very, very optimistic that what this president promised about a new direction, it seems like this is where we're going. But that was not to last very long because it all became shrouded in secrecy, in which if the president they go now, there are no announcements. There are no announcements. If communique come out or statement from White House is scanty, a bare, and most times no substance because there is no intention for tell you exactly what is going on, whether the president they go with delegation where they go with. Imagine delegations became personal. Delegations became personal. It became some kind of identity politics, something elaborate on tomorrow. Family, and not forget for touch on the studio tomorrow because I'll be talking about identity politics and whether President Bio is running a kleptocracy. That's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. And on next week, we're going to have the CSO man, Abdul Sano, Abi Fatoma, Abdul Fatoma, on the program, at which time we will talk about CSOs, basically. Have they been compromised? Are they now compromised? The role of CSOs in civil society. That's what we'll be talking about. So family like how they say, this not the thing that we don't they happen, and this not the thing that we don't they ask questions about. We get people the way they play God with the lives of Sierra Leonean people them, and they don't they do this for a while. And not only limited to President Bio in government, but it goes way beyond that. The reason why they say this as well is people need for be aware, like on the then and our platform TNN Media Empire, information is truly power. And when we put out the information there, is on the basis of choices that family then get for make, citizens then get for make. Is an informed one. At least there is a basic understanding of waiting or choice that they go make because we provided the information. Family, today na the 17th of May 2022. It's a short, very short program. Tomorrow we get a massive program where they ask whether if President Bio na kleptocracy they run, and whether we don't realize the situation where we as a people kind of find ourselves. But today, what we will talk about is the plummeting cost of living for Sierra Leonean people, which is becoming unbearable and unaffordable. Family, let me take a look at petrol products, for example. When you increase petrol products, you'd expect a large increment in other areas then where petroleum product is relevant, whether not through production or transportation from one end to the other. So if you be known by you Casada bag up now mile 38, mile 91, or somewhere, Bradford, somewhere, and you need for transport same down to Freetown, the thing you need is motor car. There's no either way about them. No totoware, no magic. You need a car for transport your goods or your wares from one end to the other. When you dey transport, when you dey use the transport in itself, they use energy. That energy the transport get for buy am. And when the transport buy am, it comes at a cost. What is the regular cost? So that they get influence on how you will be eventually charged. And if government not they in control, which means that holding will begin for take place. And then prices of them basic commodities there will be determined by unscrupulous individuals out there where all they want for do now for make money. That's what they want for do at the expense of the masses. So if life should go on, then things there go happen. You go find Jebu petrol and you go find a willing buyer where we put an increase in transport. That transport they get a burden on we people. And then government eventually go feel the social discord from the people them. Either sometimes to the extreme, but sometimes mildly. When I say to the extreme, when it continue, people kind of tend for jump not treat and then begin for disobey, for complain to government, say the way how things they go, no, we cannot afford it. And this is what this conversation is about here tonight. So mostly we government officials they don't go Orwellian, where then go try for talk about war is peace and peace is war. Lie is truth, and truth is lie. Truly speaking, family, we salon economy they in a mess. There is no if and but about that. We economy they per mess. And very, very serious mess. For 4 years counting, 4 years counting, it's been in a mess. This is where we part company with some other people because they wish you would say the other. But whilst they wish I would say the other, how can I say the other when the truth is what I am saying? That we economy don't they in dire straits for quite a long time, including this midterm. The economy just they go into a mess and mess and mess. How you can measure them? Rates of inflation and few other things. Few other things. What's in the power of your currency as against other currency them? How does it stand today? What's in the purchasing parity of goods and services as per your currency in your country? So there are few things here in terms of measurement where you can do. Unfortunately, this is not the case with we country Sierra Leone. And waiting to happen will become even more divisive because you get people who are hell bent on believing waiting the government say. And even when the government not talk, they are in the position in which government talk or government not talk. This is what they believe and they believe say them bidding when they do now for government. Fambulem, we go still assure una say we dey bring Dr. John Idris Lahai back shortly on a topic we call unfinished business because this is ongoing. Waiting Dr. John Idris Lahai reveal is corruption at the heart of government, which is not new by the way, in which we get the same people there. Typical example I like for use this BNTM is the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, a man very close to the presidency of the Republic, whom in for all intents and for intent and purposes, the president, I don't believe is going to fire him, sack him, relieve him of his duties anytime soon. Why? Because they are so close. You see the president, you see him. For tell you how up close and personal he is. When I not say President Bill, of course I don't know him personally, but I don't know him to socialize. So in social life, probably might be in-house within your family. So the attention what we want to bring to owner is like for highlight this Minister of Agriculture and Food Security in closeness to the president was one way the national team in a particular the Cup of African Nations when they show President Bio inside in private domicile, okay, with friends and family. where the first lady, of course, the first lady is a complete actress. But talk to the people, yeah, 7.5 million don't cross. Can you imagine that? So inside that palace, if one can recall, was the Minister of Agriculture. And this is not the president in private and personal space. So if you enjoy the presidency in private and personal space, what I'm trying to imply to Una Fambulem is this not a small space for Occupy. Now that this man don't get caught up in a scandal in which one of the fake degree holders that were cited by Dr. John Lahai happens to be the Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, and Food Security, Dr. now Ambassador Abubakar Karim. I mean, you can't get it better than that, but this is reality. And one tend for wonder, how is this happening in real time right before our very eyes? If President Bio serious, and I'm not questioning the seriousness of the president, I'm just saying based on what I've just said in terms of unscrupulous people allegedly surrounding the president, then that means they are bringing in themselves for the presidency. And if people were to questions of the presidency, I hope the president will see and like say, this is game. Because you get unscrupulous people morally with around you, sir. And as the noise grows louder, this is something you will have heard. And if you don't hear him, it's best for you to take action. Yeah, including the Minister of Agriculture. Now, nobody can touch him, or God only can touch him. But it's easy for make that statement. But finally, if you have to go, it's because God has spoken. But a man make the decision here. But here we have Dr. Abubakar Karim, a doctor. We in paper they all over as a doctor. So if you don't renounce, I think put a tweet out. If you don't renounce him, it is need for me known that he's renounced just like Police Chief Sovula Dubo in go on for make the mistake. If you say police chief, we need to understand the irony here. The police chief was issued a fake degree by a fake university. Okay? Now they not degree. So in fact, it may not get degree. Something that you can't do. There shouldn't be any bad. But for say that the police chief is obsessed with a degree, a doctorate, it go on to a different fake university called the AGU, the African Graduate University. Two of the universities there, they stretch the neck, they pull vein for try for tell we say they are bona fide, they're legitimate. They're legit. That's what they're trying to tell us. Udagini accreditation, we don't talk to the tertiary community. We're supposed for issue the clearance there or accreditation and column. They haven't. There's been a process, or in other words, a malfunction or a misappropriation of procedure. That's what's happened. So now that's what we do now. This Minister of Agriculture, of course, as I understand, do a background on him, he's a successful farmer. A host of farms they produce. Get connections in Vietnam. And so much so that it influenced a visit through in connection, as I have heard, proven I've got no corroborative evidence to that effect, but be influential enough for make the president of Vietnam now they get strong connections. So probably we might be expecting a batch of rice for Kandong soon, in which it's probably going to be sold cheap, or maybe on an even free basis, just for encourage voters them. But voters, I tell you, you have to raise your game and vote wisely this time. Let nobody not come by with vote for one race. This to all political party them. We make your choice. Make sure you say your choice is based on something more informed. Where we not and they try for do. So because they can give 50,000 like Emma says and one bag rice. 50,000 and one bag rice, you get for imagine how long you they eat them. And if you get family, how long your family they eat them. And the mandate what they give them in terms of a vote what they give where they can ask for is 5 years. 5 years. Are you willing to do that on a bag of rice where you can eat in a month And in 5 years, I think there are 9 months, 59 as opposed to one. So that's how serious this is. And family, we should not take this for a joke. And they talk about the hardship of people through and how economic difficulties already arrive now with sure and living standard is plummeting. Mosquito coil, now luxury item now. Much more if I begin to talk about milk, butter, and bread, and you name it. These are luxury items. If you don't go take, you don't get that you $5 or whatever they call them. We afford you one cookery for the day because eating is quite important. So you go able for keep that day. Once you sleep with her, you starve yourself until lunchtime, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You go eat that you heavy, your cookery, and then they don't for the day. Is this the life that Sierra Leoneans they want? I guess the answer is no. So President Bio need for do more. So under in leadership, we don't get too strict. The COVID-19 scourge. In fact, I will just ascribe unto the COVID-19, not to as I've been tried for say. So COVID-19 disease and Ebola was Anescoma. President Bio was not part of that. Fumble. It is that we get for raise we game. Another thing I want to address is like we really need for have this conversation back and forth. You don't necessarily have to agree with me, neither do I necessarily have to agree with you, because after all, we want to hold our different opinions. And holding with different opinions don't mean say you are right, or mean say you get for hold on to right, you right pauper. No, doesn't work like that. No, in the academic world. So there's an argument back and forth or debate. Some people come for the benefit of the others. I would like for conversation in this period. So you get conversation with people, and when I get this conversation, you table your opinion. And any time, hold on my opinion, so that person they back off. Based on no say opinion, self, you get for substantiate because you did try for putting further to other people, buy or whatever way you want to describe. But not ordinarily, especially so where it becomes question. And once a question, it becomes a duty to make that clear. Who small with it where you go like for let me know in terms of what you just substantiate. All down day is necessary. So not to normal you can talk and then you jump inside bus and then you're gone. Doesn't work like that on this platform. Family, we talk about the hardship with the na free tongue right now with them. So we know say it is not easy at all. It is a difficult thing that people and they go through. How do we end this difficulty for that we come together? And first of all, do a study, holistic study for understand what thing cause this problem, how do we resolve it, and how do we alleviate the lives of people. We don't need to be fool all the time. That because that's all sometimes government need for the in the natural state. All then they say it's like now nowadays all them what they are envious of the government. I mean your own government. There are some people that tell you say you are envious of your government. And I don't really try to figure out because I'm critical of the government too, but not envious of the government. Envious. So probably we need to go look at the meaning of envious. What the envious mean before you point fingers. Anyway, certainly I am very critical of. I'm definitely not envious of we government. Definitely not. If I critique my government, that's because I want them to do better. That's because I'm trying to identify a flaw of theirs. That's exactly what we're trying to do. And if one the argument on the basis of say I critique the government and if you don't agree, come on, let's engage. What do you not agree with? Because somehow it might be probably foolishly I pride myself in taking on issues. That's what I do. I take on issues. If I find anomalies, I try to address that. differences with government, things that government supposed for doing and they do. I take issues with that and I highlight that. And especially with what we talk so now today on the issue of difficulties. In other words, plummeting of the lifestyle or standard of living of our people is what I highlight, and it is government's responsibility, food security, physical security for its people. If it cannot, it has failed its people. And never have I said here that this government now, as we speak, I mean in Sierra Leone, don't fail in people. No, the record is here, just in case you want to go misquote me, because people do that all the time. Just before I go to the last of this conversation, because like I've been saying, I've got conversation. If you say I even do 30 minutes now, it's almost an hour. So we go do them exactly for an hour. I am interested in the conversation. I am interested in issues regarding my country and my people. It is lately, let's be honest, that many people don't they do something we really don't appreciate because they don't try to make them really personal. 3 4 years, because I've been around for a little bit of time. I get these attacks. They're personal. I get them one way they call me say me a foreigner, which is right now because they're from time immemorial they call me say me a foreigner. Only because I left my country at a very early age in sojourn elsewhere. Now I am a foreigner, so I don't get right for talk about me. But away from that, the argument that I've made to people is like, okay, so we get CNN, we get Al Jazeera, or all media. These are all foreign entities. CNN will be synonymous with America, but they will talk about other countries. Are you supposed to talk about other countries? No. That's how foolish your thought process is. That's why you need for that because it's not on me, it's on you. On me, it's on you. That's how foolish you look. You look at a bona fide Sierra Leone to or got thousands of followers globally. Thousands of followers globally. Some are anti, and then they say all are for. When you get 3 or 5 people, we always want to ascribe something to you which you are not, which makes them comical and funny. Sometimes you try for draw them by them back or come on, shut up for God's sake. You make a mockery of yourself on a media platform which has global coverage. Why would I want to sit down in front of people? Thousands of people we're not a watch now, but subsequently you will see thousands of people will watch it and then for full myself build something else where I am something else. I'm not the operating. I don't like for example, you get people that will come after me personally for like 3 4 years. Then they take them away from there and begin to tell outlies on me, smear me, and then extend that to my family. And what happened? I've shut them down. So we need a bluff. If you want to engage, let's engage. But if you want to go down to the gutter, I'm not going to answer with you. But if you want to have an engagement on issues, I'm open any day. The one that we know me know that's what I'm interested in. So Usai person they give me back talk. I say, oh, they say go police. And people are saying this when they say it, how they say it, why it. As long as you live here, you have to govern yourselves according to the rule or challenge people and just insult people inside out, outside right. Of course, insults not a monopoly. We all can dwell into that. But why should we? Why can't we be decent in we conversation? So anyway, those that went down that way, well, I'm sure the police must have spoken to them. And spineless one, the way they be in, we not get the guts. I call them spineless imbeciles. We get the guts. We not get the guts for come at the front line for say waiting and they say because there is no truth to it. We will go after you as well. We go do investigations and find out who you are, and we go open police file on you. If we can't improve salon and we come outside there for improve we country image, but another business in our one campaign, well, that is not possible on the T and N. Not to me. Personally, yes, because I'm a public figure. Team up now they criticize other people, them. You get the right for criticize me, but still there are rules. Having said that, I did for move on, okay, because action has been taken anyway, and some of them have gone silent, and it's such a laughable a thing, but very, very kind of serious. So, Fambule, what I've been trying for say in terms of this hard time where we dey encounter now is not only due to the invasion or special operations as Russia go like for call of Ukraine, but reckless discipline, reckless financial discipline. So we see say from the beginning, I say something like that from the very beginning as we come to the end, we get roughly about 5 6 minutes for end this video. The government of Sierra Leone under retired Brigadier His Excellency Julius Maada Bio did quite well, and based on the promise we been given, we try for be very transparent. That lasted for only 3 to 4 months. We will not resort to using overdraft facilities for pay government workers. This was a promise given to us by President Bio. As we speak today, what is that situation like? Is it why everything is gone into secret mode? Is it why? Executive Order number 1. Fambulen, do we really recall what in this mean? Do we really recall what in this mean? As the president been saying. But there is an about face turn from executive order number 1. Executive number 1 been giving some guarantee say the president serious. The president came on the back of a new direction. A new direction has become the old direction plus. And I said it, and let me repeat. That new direction, as was promised by President Bio, has become new direction, old direction plus. That's where we are today. So all the things that the way the president promised we are yet to see them. So 3 4 months, everything what the president do, every revenue generated by the government was made public. But that was short-lived. Why that was short-lived? We, the Sierra Leonean people, go need answers. Sooner rather than later. Dear Papa President, if you listen, it's been 4 years of reckless. And again, some people not go like the description. But regardless of you liking the description, it just happens for be material fact. Reckless fiscal policies or fiscal discipline has led us to some of the position where we are in. Remember that the bank governor try for play all kind thing. When I say all kind thing, I mean I'm in a positive way, not being provocative at all. In other words, apply policies which he thought would have helped to mend the economic situation. But it turned out for say Professor Kalon need the classroom more than he need the bank governorship because after all, he's tried many modules and none of this has borne fruit. None of them. None of them. It don't auction, it don't buy, it don't sell. The last one, of course, it's never the last from the bank governor, is 68.5 million of taxpayer money. And now they talk about dollars, $68.5 million. Fambulen, do you know how many hospitals this will have built? How many school buildings this will have facilitated built? along with instructors for help for facilitate the president in flagship program. Yet 68.5 million was distributed to people potentially whom the bank governor and his staff know. Why do I say this? Because the bank governor tell we say he used the money for bribe people. Who did he bribe? People them way they no say been they hold money. I mean they hold we currency. So bribe them for let them bring the currency back. My question to Professor Kalon then and now is these people are known to us. And that program there was never successful. And now that make you come publicly for admit say it wasn't successful and we use una money $68.5 million for bribe people and for bring this money. So Professor Kalon, if people are not bring this money come, and we know the people who we bribe for let them bring and come, why then cannot you take action against them? And they talk about legal action through the judiciary. And if they refuse or it turn out for be issues of corruption where they within the remit and the act of the ACC under Francis Ben Kaifala, why not make a referral, sir? Why not? Why not explain how you they can explain to we and tell we say people are eat with 68.5 million and they're still in the country and we know them and yet still they can't tell we say they eat with money, but we can't pursue them legally for let them return the Sierra Leonean people their money. Or is it, I would dare to ask, friends of yours, friends of the government, that now you can't go after them because it was almost like reward? Because I don't know any other reason why you not go get hold of them, sir. Why? So some of the consequences then we will suffer today, family. Now, as a consequence of reckless financial indiscipline, violation of a financial act laws, rampant corruption, misuse of public funds, it's all documented. And don't you ever forget that we lost an auditor general. You may say what you want to say, but the facts are there that the auditor general was relieved of her post. And as we speak today, imagine many months on, many months on, even though they say not be suspension, and somebody be the act will not be fitting according to criteria for replace them. Yet now the scenario now offend with self in today. And yet, we the Sierra Leonean people are supposed to be the bang we hate together because this same few politician them in the greed, this greedy politician them, where only they try for better themselves, think they are very smart and carefully selected, almost like Animal Farm, in which the pigs with lipstick, believe say they are entitled to the best part of the produce, the milk, the honey, the apples, and then the real tillers of the soil, which is you and me, will continue for it the tubers, the roots, not the fine offshoots, but the tubes and the roots. And yet still we get for dig for them, even though now we plant them. But the best part of the produce, it goes to them. How long? That's the question. How long? Fambulem, the suffering of we people, and this is not the final part of this conversation. The suffering of we people, is going to be intense. It's going to be hard because the fact is there are hard times ahead. I am not an economist, but of course I read ABC na high school and college, uni and colonel. The basic of all of this is get for do with inflation. I remember I put inflation in a technical form now one of the platform and somebody come, no, this is not what inflation means. Well, that's not supposed to be argument, and anybody can disagree with the position where you take in terms of inflation. So the idea that we get this double-digit inflation and it's only going to go worse because of the economic situation, with local currencies being devalued, inflation day at a double digit. So it just they make the prices of goods and services for skyrocket to a point where me and you cannot afford. And when I say me and you, I mean we the basic people, the ordinary Joe, the ordinary blokes, just us. That 5-10% that we elected, we the electors, we will continue for fund them, which is constitutionally responsible because then one day we elect, we get for look after them. But the inverse effect is then also supposed for look after we. But here lies the conundrum. It happened for look like say they are not looking after us. They are only interested in looking after themselves. See where the problem lies? Salon Fambulem, we need for understand that it's going to get worse before it get better. And even before it get better, we need for understand what is good for us. We the people. Power derives from the people. And without us, they can't be. Look in the constitution about government, the power of the people, and government. We the electors. Now we then they derive them powers from. Because now we give them that mandate today. But no sooner we give them the mandate, and because we don't understand we mandate, we can always wait 5 years down the line, it turn out to be a problem. Because they're so entrenched. So, like I say, living standard is going to really get worse, family. It's really going to get worse because the world at this stage is not getting any better. So, since 2008, this runs deep. But that don't mean say you cannot put financial incentives in place, packages in place for help for alleviate the suffering of your people. These are things that you can do. But this is not something where we government they do or don't do. I know they talk about Munafa, then funny project the way people like can go do for bribe the populace, a section of the populace, give them money. Because not everybody they give money. It's a special people and when they give money, okay, and not just open to anybody. And they talk about creating the prerequisite where could change this kind of dynamics where we dey see in which first lady, for example, get for put pile and pile of money for give people them. That is not changing the lives of people. That's just putting them in more poverty. Give me 50,000 leons today. I'ma eat that because until I'm so angry, I mean like hungry, me and my family, that 50,000 there they go straight into food. So even though you've been generous for give me money, but that money they will give me a short term, 1 day, 1 week, and that's done. What happens after all of this money is spent? So that's not the solution. The solution here is for find something which is sustainable, which can keep families going. Teach a man how to fish, not just get fish. Teach her how to fish, make her independent, and see what happens. A nation grows because that man can make his own subsequent contribution. Where also they empower others, and the more people you empower, the more people are empowered. That's what it is. But Fambulem, we really need to understand that the prices of goods and services, they get for continue for grow because again of the Ukraine crisis, far away from us, but because the world now one global village. So one of the items that will be command cheaply, although probably not today will be get with you now having done the research, so I'm not even going to venture into going into that. Is that of petroleum and the byproducts. But petroleum as a whole, we know what it mean in our country and how much we people and depend on that. To and fro, east and west, central and upline, suburbs, it depends on petrol. Carrying, ferrying goods and services from different parts of the country, from Brian Canada, different parts to Southern for can do, and sales, distribution, and you name it, a petrol. And when petrol go up, everything else, as I know, goes up. And what happens? That cost, because the system has to run and life has to go on. That cost is then passed on to the consumers like me and you. So therefore, when they pay 5 block for transport from Calbatong to Central, Sackville Street, or I don't know, so they put that in the stop now. It now become 1,000 because why petrol price don't go up. That might mean we've been bringing particularly from Waterloo to Freetown for Cancel. We've been the sell tie 100 leons. petrol price don't go up and they don't pass that price to them because they pay more now for transporting goods, automatically that goods they don't go up. So the pressure comes both on the side of government, if government cares, and I suppose government cares, not blaming government in this case, because sometimes some of these difficulties, it's really beyond them. It's just the trend as to how things they play out. But then the people, the masses of the people, I repeat, which is me, you. We're not in government, so we're not fortunate for get a Prado, an SUV, where they consume liters and liters. If I don't call them gallons, because liters you waste them, 5 liter make 1 gallon, and the rest not call them gallons. But yet still they can afford them because the state can make the provision for them. But then me and you, where they suffer on a daily basis, we continue for suffer. But we need for prepare ourselves because it's going to be harder. The Ukraine crisis is going to get deeper. They might call for a ceasefire soon, but the crisis does not end there. Anybody who don't follow open media, and they admonish people and for follow open media. I do get these engagements with many people where then a standard media and they follow. Standard media has got a motive for back a side, not the story. And once you listen to them, you just they become a talking point for them because they regurgitate waiting and they say, and that plays well for them because that four corner box don't kind of control you, as opposed to yes, you listen to them, but then you listen to open media and you get thousands and thousands of contributors now. Open media, very relevant people. Some will be work for the mainstream media, but they have diverse views. But if you're clever enough, that's what you listen to both sides and you make a reasonable opinion right now in the middle, other than saying what you've been told. Try for think, how for think, not what to think, like you've been told. Say what you want to say, not what you are told to say. That gives you mental emancipation. Your feelings, your attitudes are not manipulated. You've got the freedom to speak. Family, as I come to the end of the program, we economy is very unreliable, it's very unstable, and we people then live at a very critical time. Electricity is a fact is very, very scarce, despite what we've been told for many, many months. And Nonami program, I said that many times. And as I get people them on the program, now so electricity they go off and we get for struggle. Some people they say now propaganda, oh, this was said. And we had no reason for do such. But eventually, the truth shall prevail. I don't care how much you mass them, it will prevail. So electricity is scarce. Water crisis. I see a video, it almost bring me to tears. People and they get a salt water, now then they go process. But tap that not to free you, then they sell them. So imagine we vulnerable people them, we mama them, we sister them. Goodness me. I mean, this must be really difficult times for we people. What the government is doing about this is what I'm keen about because, like, most countries can suffer. But what are you doing, for change this narrative? Then, when the president can speak them, when they write speech for them, it seems like the president is detached from reality of him people. Them. Because you got speech writers where just the right. President Bio need for common is either in Kokunde and try for engage in people and so you understand why and exactly what they go on. A typical example was waiting happened at Kono a few months ago, where the president been physically did it and don't feed the president with lies. Lies! Then feed them with. And the emphasis is mine and I mean I'm in every stretch of me and my body language. Because why? That's exactly what they do to the president. The president go in based on what they don't tell him. This massive, a mammoth crowd day before the president begin for talk. And I sure say most of them when they watch and go watch later had seen this video of the president. And you see the discord between the president and his people. Even though these manipulators, these unscrupulous individual them, this unpatriotic individual them, we feel say if you analyze that and be critical of that situation, then I mean you're opposed to, as opposed to you they try for rectify something. The president was humbled by the people at that point today. People they say, what are you talking about? So there was this discord. Waiting the president, they say, wasn't real. Not to waiting the people let me they feel. And the president began for pause for a number of minutes. Maybe no number of minutes. Probably they exaggerate that. But there was a good pause in which you do a quick consultation, like Chinese whispers. Shh, shh, shh. Now the president he is. And then the president decide for using wisdom and rouse the crowd. One country, one people, one people, one country, something along that line. Just forget the people then back on track. Because apparently, would I ever whisper in your ear, say, Papa, the thing where you talk so, they go down well with them people and we need for change tack. And would I ever said that? Or if it was said, and the president come back with one country, one people. And two na say water no day, and two na say light no day. Okay, light day, I mean light they come, water they come. Other than light day and water day. So you see what they talk about? And these are the things that we talk about all the time. But you cannot criticize without other people with just the support for support's sake. So, Sierra Leoneans, it's going to be a difficult period, and that difficult period a day ahead. But like everything else, there's going to be the storm before the calm. The Ukraine war, most likely, there will be a ceasefire, but the repercussion will be long felt. And we see, for those of una we understand geopolitics, there's the formation of a new world order. We also need for understand, say, geopolitically speaking, the new world order be not finish. The old world order be not finish. This is now a period for the last 20, 25 years in which the United States and the ally Great Britain, France, in fact, France was outside of it for a period of time, but it reigned supreme in a unipolar world. It was all about the West. But within the past 23, 25 years, that has changed. We now have a multipolar world. But in this multipolar world, there are people who don't enjoy the unipolar world for this long. We just no one agree say we are entering into a new phase in which power is emerging from the east, which is China. By purchasing parity, China is the greatest economy. We know say we get people and sentimentally we so attached to the West that even the reality day before we not agree for accept. And when you paint that picture, they say, oh, go live in China. Or when you talk about reality geopolitically, oh, go Russia. But what they see is folding out. So that new world order, now the formation now they see so, and it's not easy for their form. Sometimes it come out of the background of blood and tears and ashes, major war. We haven't averted that yet because this could develop, as they talk about the Ukraine-Russia crisis, because the West did not invest so much prestige and money into this. How then can they allow Russia for declare victory? So then go continue for pump weaponry inside there and armament inside there and continue the war. Even though the Russians are batting down, not all because the Ukrainians then get one victory under, they are no match for the Red Army and they are being killed in the thousands. For every 10 Russian soldiers will die, there is 100 or plus Ukrainian that will go die. This is just the bare fact. And the Russians, and most people don't want to admit to this, they're not going in there with their full force. They could do the same thing that the Westerners do, steamroll or steam carpet or bomb the hell out of them. Just like we've seen in Syria and Libya, what the Westerners then did. But no, this is not the neighbor. And then, consider these people for being them brothers. But people then go say, well, brother, in the first war. Of course, this is war. But even in war, they have been very careful. Now, it's war where you see a superpower come inside, you still get water, you get light, you get internet all day run. Whereas if not the West, they're not the infrastructural damage, collateral damage, now they go for. Kill all of them when they're out. But these people are fighting their own causing them. So yes, buildings have been damaged, people are being killed. But you feel say they go there with all the power. And as we speak today, the landmass where Russia don't occupy inside Ukraine is the equivalent to the entire United Kingdom. Great Britain, mainland, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland, UK and I. That's what it is. So now gradually it's a cauldron. So there's going to be more difficult times because this war not they just end. So we see another provocation. They open another front in which Finland has remained largely neutral for over 40 years with no threat. They've been, forced to join the union, and the president of Finland don't sign. Say go join. So now another provocation in the way the Russians they get over 1,300 kilometer border where the Russians will eventually end up there and put a nuclear weapon there, and then you get Poland just beyond Ukraine. So we live in precarious times. So we government for the think if they get SAS people them implement policies, and I talk about first lady policy, then possibly will not elect the campaign policy where you don't understand. Stay back, advise back, leave the front guard alone. And the president he advised them. So far, the policies have been disastrous. Economic policies, agriculture. Of course, the minister get doctor degree when not valid. What do you expect? Now he say in an ambassador. Now he advice on health. On whose basis? Sierra Leoneans is going to be on an unbearable experience for we, okay, due to bad economic policies and corruption. But we go come out of this because I know say we are resilient people. We will definitely come out of this. Again, I repeat why? Because we are a resilient people. We've been through this before. The difference here is in the 1980s, when I was a boy, there was a point of convergence. We, the people, against the government, whether it was APC one man rule or one party rule, there was a convergence. Say this. So when Hindolo Try and others were carrying out the revolution for giving this paradigm shift, where eventually get we to USA we did, because remember it's a process. 1977, I think I just gone up Albert Academy, no school, no college. Hindolo Try and others, young Hindolo Try, they were at the forefront, the vanguard of this. And they had the support of the people. That's the difference against a government. We've been rain anarchy on the people, get ISUs and what have you, and intimidate the people. We stood up against that. Students were at the forefront. Unionists were at the forefront. Public servants were at the forefront. Of course, it's much more different today because we become more subservient and more divided along party lines, tribal lines, regional lines, and you name it. That's the difference today. But we will never make any much more difference if we don't unite and realize what is at the center of this crusade. This conversation is a country called Sierra Leone, where when fake degrees are exposed, the person will expose the fake degrees, even though we get reason for scrutinize them, but we know say he's in bona fide is correct. We know it's easy for them to find that out, but some people are trying to muddy the waters by, instead of holding those that are running the country who are caught up in the scandal, say, listen, you are wrong. And a president who is supposed to take immediate action is waiting for the wrath of the people. When Mohammed Kamaremba Mansare becomes a political prisoner, in effect, and suffer the consequences of state imprisonment for 3 years running, deprived of his party and family and children, and then we stand aloof watching this happen, imagine who is next. Say, Leoneans, thank you very much. I take a leave from you. Join me tomorrow. We get more for talk about on whether President Bill on a kleptocracy. For the Then and Now media platform, I've been your host and presenter, Prince Emil Kuma. They say, until tomorrow, same time, don't touch that dial. Good night.
It shock you.